Season 2 Reloaded has now come and gone, and for the most part, we've covered just about everything that I've wanted to discuss in regards to the new updates and things that you should know about. But in this video, I wanted to take some time and look at an updated version of the top 10 guns that you should be using here in Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer. Not Warzone, but multiplayer after the update. So we're breaking down my picks here. If you enjoy the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. I'd love to have you in the community. And finally, check out my friends over at GamerAdvantage for the best blue light glasses on the market, but more on them in a bit. For now, let's jump into the top 10 guns you should be using in Modern Warfare 2 after Season 2 Reloaded. So first and foremost, for starters, what changed? Well, what did the Season 2 Reloaded update actually do, and what weapons of your selection were really adjusted in any way, shape, or form? The guns that did get touched were the STB, which had an inconsequential change to MP. It added a minimum damage value against armor. The RAL saw some fat reductions. The RPK saw some minor adjustments. The Socken saw some minor adjustments as well. The MX-9 saw a minor buff. The BAS P, some minor buffs. The PDSW 528 saw some minor visual buffs with the iron sights. The Vel 46 saw a solid buff for the close damage range and improved handling on the 30-round magazine. The Lockman sub saw some kind of substantial nerfs, and the KB broadside was absolutely obliterated within Warzone. Pretty hard hit, but still usable within MP. But one of the big things also to note is that underbarrels, all the grips were significantly reduced in that aim down sight penalty, so making all underbarrels pretty viable across the board, and honestly might change some of what attachments you want to use in your underbarrel category. But that said, what does this mean for the top 10 weapons you should play with and the builds? As always, builds on screen, tuning on the left-hand side of the overlay. Let's start out with the ISO Hemlock, one that I still think is reigning supreme in both Warzone and multiplayer to a degree. This is one of, if not the only weapon we'll talk about here in this video that will actually talk about two builds. The first one including the FSS OLV Laser, the Series 4 MR Barrel, the Socken Shred 40 Muzzle, the X10 Grip, and the Cronin Mini Pro Optic. Though if you do want to take a secondary build that I would recommend of the FSS OLV Laser, the Socken Shred 40, the Edge 47 Grip, the X10 Grip, and the Cronin Mini Pro, just giving you a little bit more control in terms of that underbarrel. It's really up to you if you want to sacrifice the barrel for the underbarrel or vice versa. Both, I think, can do very well for you within MP, but again, controllable fire rate, decent recoil control, and a solid damage per round makes the ISO one of the best weapons right now, in my opinion. Next, I still want to stick with all reliable, the TAC 56. I still think that is something that you can absolutely do tremendously well with. You guys will notice the MP build for the TAC 56 is a little bit different than what we put in our Warzone builds, but for this, we're more so playing a little bit more for a fast and loose gameplay style, prioritizing handling and speed rather than necessarily recoil control. But as we'll touch on in a second, you can absolutely adjust this with relative ease. For the TAC 56, I'd recommend the FSS OLV Laser, the Edge 47 Grip, the 40-round magazine, the Demo Clean Shot Grip, and the TV X-Line Pro stock. Now again, if you do want a little bit more control, you don't want to play for as much handling, as much of a snappy weapon gun up build here with this, I would absolutely recommend the Socken Shred in place of the TV X-Line Pro. That's going to give you the most control while also still holding those properties of your speed and mobility up as best as possible. But that said, that's all reliable, the TAC 56. Next, the M4 is another weapon I would highly recommend. Still another weapon that I think is a very easy to use pick up and play weapon, whether you're a veteran or you're a brand new player. The M4 is one that I would recommend the 20-inch high tower barrel, the 45-round magazine, the X10 Grip, the Tempest P80 Strike stock, and the Cronin Mini Pro Optic. Now you can get away with the iron sights. Personally, I just prefer the red dot precision a little bit more than the iron sights, but it is something that if you want to sacrifice that Cronin Mini Pro Optic for something else, you're more than welcome to. You can end up putting on an ammunition adjustment. You can put on a laser, whatever you feel comfortable with, but that is the build that I would recommend. Next, keeping with the theme of more rifles, the Kastov 545 is one that, statistically speaking, actually outperformed the 7.62 for a while and is still one of my favorites. It's kind of like a, what I would say, more unsung weapon that a lot of people will focus on that M4, the ISO Hemlock because it's new, the TAC 56 because it's just all reliable, but the 545 is, statistically speaking, one of the best choices here in regards to rifle play. For this, I'd recommend the Edge 47 Grip, the 45-round magazine, the True Tac Grip, the ProLite TL3 stock, and the Cronin Mini Pro Optic, trying to prioritize a little bit, again, in terms of that damage range, recoil control, but also having speed attributes as well to it, trying to play a little more well-rounded and play into the damage the weapon can afford, but make it snappier enough that you can do damage with it. Beyond that, the 74U, again, continuing on with the rifles, there are a lot of good rifles here, if you cannot tell. The 74U is one that we've talked about plenty of times. Honestly, I still kind of play with the Kastov 74U like a pocket SMG, but because it takes rifle ammunition, it does do more damage, but you can absolutely play with that snappier nature that makes it more so like an SMG. For this, I'd recommend the FSS FSS OLV laser, the short tack 330, or preferably as of late, the BR209 barrel, the 45 round magazine, the true tack grip, and the Marqueve R7 stock. Again, just playing for a bit more of that mobility. Now, I promise we're going to get to some SMGs and other classifications here, but I'd still say the M13B is a top weapon as well. This one, a build that we've talked about across Warzone and MP for quite some time, so we can breeze past this one. That being the 14-inch Bruin Echelon barrel, the Edge 47 grip, the 45 round magazine, the Bruin flash grip, and the Cronin Mini Pro optic. Now, the next weapon, that is one that is finally going to be a newer introduction here to the top 10 that we've talked about, or rather haven't talked about just yet within Modern Warfare 2, that being the Vel 46. As we talked about, the close damage ranges were increased, as well as an additional improvement to handling for the 30 round magazine. So this is one that honestly, I think you're going to likely start to see evolve into one of the primary SMG metas, and I've already seen it used quite a bit in ranked play among pros and others as of recording this. For this, I'd recommend the Lockshot KT85 muzzle, the Edge 47 grip, the 30 round magazine again for that improved handling and mobility, the Schlager Soldier grip, and the Demo RXT stock. Now, yes, you are sacrificing 10 shots by default to go for a smaller magazine, which is something that I normally wouldn't ever really advocate for, but the mobility attributes that you gain as a result actually are kind of worth it. It is something that is much faster in terms of ADS by comparison to the Vaznev. It's got a faster reload, and all things considered, it's seriously not all that bad. Again, with those close damage ranges increased as well, that means that you can still do very well with it, even with 10 less shots by default. So highly recommend giving the Vel a chance. Beyond that, as we talked about, the Vaznev 9K, it is a little bit faster than that in terms of that ADS time, but the Vaznev still can absolutely shred. And I still think this will be one that for at least a little while, if not completely, will be the main meta within ranked for SMG play. But that said, the Vaznev, we've talked about this class before, kind of hybrid between a multiplayer and sheer ranked play build, that being the Bruin Pendulum, the FSS Sharkfin 90 underbarrel, the 45 round magazine, the true tack grip, and the Marqueve R7 stock. Or if you'd like, you have that Austriot stock as well. Though truthfully, the Marqueve R7, it offers a bit more in terms of that aim down sight speed, so that's why I take it. Yes, it sacrifices a little bit of recoil control, but I feel confident in my ability to control the weapon that it does prove to be more beneficial than the Austriot stock. So that said, that is the Vaznev 9K. Beyond that, I'd recommend the RPK, but not playing for a traditional RPK that you'd see with like an LMG build or something like that. Instead, this I'm more so kitting it for like rifle play. For this, I'd recommend the Cast 10 584mm barrel, the Edge 47 grip, the 40 round magazine, so you end up having extra mobility and handling attributes on top of that, the true tack grip, and the Cronin Mini Pro optic. This packing the punch of an LMG, less rounds, absolutely, that is 100% valid of an argument, but it is something that you don't need that full base 75 you get with the default magazine for the RPK. 40 is just fine, and of course with everything else, I think you'll do great with that. And finally, the last weapon we'll talk about here in terms of our primary, the Kastov 7.62 still does have a place, I think, within the multiplayer meta. That I'd recommend the Sock and Shred 40, the Edge 47 grip, the 40 round magazine, the true tack grip, and the Cronin Mini Pro, but that is one that I've kind of fallen out of love with a bit more, so it's just right on the inside looking out, I think. But that's my top 10 weapons within Modern Warfare 2 for Season 2 Reloaded. Of course, there are still a number of weapons you can use tremendously and do well with. A couple of those, I'd say the PDSW 528 is just on the outside looking in. I'd probably put that at like 11. The Bass P with the adjustments isn't too terrible, though I'd probably put that one around like 13, 14 maybe if we're going in terms of power rankings. The FSS Hurricane still surprisingly has some decent attributes as well. The STB 556, the Chimera. Again, there's still plenty of weapons that you can do well with, so you're not necessarily limited to only these 10. So that said, let me know your thoughts down below on what you guys think. Before we wrap everything up, a quick reminder, check out my friends over at GamerAdvantage for the best blue light glasses on the market. I've talked about them plenty in the past, but it is something that if you guys would like the most comfortable, lightweight, and durable frames on the market, I cannot recommend these guys enough. Having done this YouTube thing, sitting at my desk for 6, 7, 8, upwards of like 10 hours a day for almost every day for 7, 8 years in a row now at this point, it is something that I have absolutely felt the strain of eye fatigue. They have helped tremendously. Yes, they are a bit more expensive and more of an investment than something like a generic pair off Amazon, but I truly think that the difference is reflective in terms of that quality in what you pay for. So if you guys would like to learn more about the science, their clinical studies, and everything that goes along with that, link in the description below. And if you guys would like to pick up something for yourself, use code Espresso to get 10% off your entire order. But for now, that's what we're gonna call it. So let me know your thoughts down below. Like this list, would you add, subtract to it? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts below. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, and anything COD related. We've still got a lot upcoming here ahead of Season 3. A couple of cool projects we're working on that I think you guys will also enjoy. But if you're interested, hit the subscribe button. I'd love to have you. But anyways, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.